All right, we would like to use this time to say a special thank you to our official sponsor of the Good Guys Rant podcast, Mimo's Restaurant. Mimo's Restaurant is located in Reading, Pennsylvania. It's family owned and operates since 1997. During COVID-19, Mimo's is available for curbside and takeout. They currently have two specials that are great deals in the $35 range combo that includes the choices of chicken parmigiana, baked ziti with mini meatballs, or homemade cheese ravioli. One of the choices comes with a garden salad and dinner rolls. Or the second option that is $40 that gives the choices of either homemade lobster ravioli, homemade lasagna, or shrimp scampi that also comes with a garden salad and dinner rolls. Go get yourself some Mimos and tell them that the guys at Good Rant Podcast sent you there. Shout out to Mikey.
Mikey, the GOAT. That's my man. Big shout out to him.
Welcome to the Good Guys Rant podcast. We are your hosts, Reed, Anthony, Nick, and Tarlin. On this podcast premiere episode, we have a couple of different items on the agenda. First, we will have a small introduction on how this podcast became to be, as well as our individual favorite sports teams and players. We will also be diving into The Last Dance in its entirety and discussing our favorite moments, thoughts on Jordan, Phil Jackson, and the supporting cast.
Man, how I met you guys. I met all you guys through AUMB. It's how we met up, Alvernia basketball. And we became friends through that. What was that, 2016?
Fall 2015. Yeah. Well, no, you're right.
2016.
Yep.
Got a youngin' in there.
Yeah.
That's right. My fault, Buzz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Reed and I, we met first in high school. Then Dope came along 2015. And then Buzz came 2016. It's been a good 4 years since, so, you know,
Yep.
How we became friends. The AUMB dynasty.
The no chip dynasty.
Yeah.
That's right. Came in on a high note, left on a low note. That's right. I think it's a good thing, the side note, that right now, hopefully years down the line when we see how successful this podcast has grown, that we started this during COVID-19 in May. We've been in quarantine for how many months now? 4?
2 months, man.
Yeah,
only 2 months.
Definitely 2 months.
It does feel like 4, but
yeah.
All right,
like
2 months.
When you're at home playing video games for 15 hours
a day.
Those days add up, man.
That's right.
Lose track. Nah, but it's basically like the way this podcast really did get started, though. Like one day, me, Tar, and Nick were in a group chat, and we were just talking. We was like, "Hey, what if we just started a podcast?" Because we always talk about all these other podcasts, All the Smoke with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, and then you got Darius Miles and Quentin Richardson. So we was like, "Hey, why don't we do it? It seems easy enough. We could just get a couple guys together and just start talking." And then we took that to Reed, asked him what he thought about it, and he was like, "Hey, it sounds good to me." And then voila, here we are.
That's a good talking point too about some of our inspirations of podcasts. Like you mentioned the Joe Budden. What other podcast did you mention?
All the Smoke.
All the
All the Smoke. Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson.
Matt Barnes.
Yeah.
The Ringer.
Ringer too. Yeah.
No Chill, Gilbert Arenas.
My guy Bill Simmons over there on the Ringer. That's right. Forgot about him.
What podcast you listen to, Reed? I know you had one. No.
I got 2 that I've listened to. One's mainly, well, I got more than 2, but 2 that go in like with sports. But the one was Mixtape through Barstool with Coley Mick and Trill Withers. They talk mainly about basketball, but I think we're gonna kind of do what they do. Like we talk about basketball, and then they end up just talking about anything going on, like whether it's life or other sports. Because if we're doing this and football season comes around and we're actually gonna have damn well we're gonna talk about football, or what other sports. And the other one's Pardon My Take, and they do all the fun, talk about all this wacky stuff. They have really good guests on there. So those are mainly the 2 that I listen to now.
No, yeah, podcast is definitely something that I think interests all of us, because that's what our friend group basically does. We're like a nonstop podcast. We just debate each other all day and discuss topics all day. So we might as well put it on the record ourselves and bring it to
put it out there for everyone to see.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say, Tar. It's a good point. Ever since I started, because I really started like talking to you guys almost like every day beginning of quarantine. Like we used to play 2K last year, and then whatever, and then we got back to all playing again. And I was just talking to my brother and parents about this because I was excited to tell them about the podcast and what's going on and like who's in it and whatnot. I said I debated more with you guys in the past 2 months than I have with my whole friends in 22 years. So I think it's fun to document it and just keep it on the record for other people to see, and just fun to keep track of it.
It's crazy, Reed, because we've argued like crazy through Xbox and just FaceTime and whenever we all talk, but during quarantine. But you haven't even seen how we get when we're all together at Albernia. It's even worse.
It's very bad.
No, bro, I have an idea.
We walk in until the day ends. Like, we'll be arguing from the second we walk in till the day ends, yelling at each other.
Man, I don't have a system, so I've been missing out on these Xbox calls. But
I heard you got an Xbox on the way, though.
I did order one, so we'll see when it comes. Xbox, got to join the wave.
There you go.
Yeah, Tar, I got a couple strategies in mind, because I know once you get your argumentative persona on, your takeover for arguing, there's no stopping you. So I got to know when to just cool it. Your takeover, pulling up from 40 like Kenny. That's all I know. So
shout out my cousin Kenny.
Shout out Astro Kenny. He's in the ATL.
Trippy Bucks.
Trippy Bucks on IG.
Gotta get him as a guest.
That's another thing. We're trying to get a lot of guests on this podcast too. A lot of people have been hitting us up as soon as we posted something on Instagram, just talking about the podcast, saying I gotta get on. So we're gonna have a lot of people on talking their stuff. We're gonna go back and forth with them, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Speaking of that, why don't we have everybody just give a quick summary of the sports topics that they like in terms of like teams and players, things of that nature, so people know what we're going to be, really discussing.
Start it off.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, me, I like, I'm a huge basketball fan. Obviously, I played basketball since I was 4. I love football. I can discuss baseball a little bit, but I'm probably going to leave that to Reed and Dote. And when we do get into our discussions, I'm going to let you guys know right now, we are a pro LeBron podcast. So,
yes, sir.
Go James.
If that's not something you want to hear, then I don't know. We're pro LeBron. And I'm pro Steph Curry. So before you guys,
as am I.
will be biased towards Steph Curry. So
I'm pro Steph as well. I'm with you.
I got it. Yeah, I'm pretty much Philly sports for everything. Phillies, Eagles. I like the Sixers, but LeBron's my favorite player. So I would say I support both the Sixers and LeBron, whoever LeBron's playing for. So yeah, like Tar said, this is definitely a pro LeBron podcast, like he said. So yeah.
So I'd like to give a shout out to my brother Quinn for picking the sports teams in my family. That's been giving me trouble ever since I was young, because I got teams in different areas for no reason. Starting off with the NBA, my team, trust the process, Sixers, NFL, Steelers, and baseball, I like the Red Sox. College teams, really, I rock with like Penn State for most sports. And I'm like Buzz when it comes to I should say this. I was more vocal about being a LeBron James supporter back in the day when the Sixers were going 10 and 72 or whatever. No, they didn't actually go 10-72. They won like 13 games. Like it was just easier to be more vocal about being a LeBron fan. I've always been a Sixers fan, but back in those days, the Sixers weren't touching the playoffs or smelling it. So I was like, I'm just rocking out with the Cavs or the Heat or but yeah, so now it's a lot easier that the Sixers are at least competitive. But those are my sports teams.
Yeah, I'm more along the lines with Buzz. I'm a Philly guy, Philly sports guy. I live like 10 minutes away from the bridge. The Sixers complex, their practice facility is in Camden, so that's pretty close to me as well. I'm the biggest Sixers fan you'll find. Me and Tar go back and forth, Sixers, Knicks. Well, I don't know. He don't talk about the Knicks as much anymore since they stink. But I'm just gonna leave that there. The biggest Eagles fan. When they won the Super Bowl, I was doing backflips at Alvernia. Everyone could hear me in Judd's Hall yelling like a maniac. Baseball, I'm a Philly. I like the Phillies. They disappoint me every year, so then I keep my mouth shut about them. And I don't watch hockey, so we ain't talking about no hockey on here.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say
College,
though.
college
go ahead, my
teams
bad.
though, I have no college teams because all these players they're in 1 year, gone the next, so I can't stick with a team. I can't do it. I just watch and support whoever I think's the top player. So that's what I do with sports.
Yeah, I forgot about college. As far as college, I'm definitely a Nova hoop supporter. Been my favorite team since I was young. So yeah, definitely on the Nova bandwagon.
I forgot to add my teams. Um,
Tar Heels.
yeah, as far as professional sports goes, I'm a full out New York sports fan. You know, I grew up in New York. I lived in New York for my first 12 years of my life, and I love the Knicks. I love the Giants, Yankees. And then when it goes to college sports, I'm a huge Michigan football fan and North Carolina basketball fan. So yeah, that's it for me.
I was gonna say though, NHL playoffs though. Like I don't know if anybody's ever watched, but NHL playoffs, the atmosphere and everything's insane. Like I'll watch playoffs. I sound like a bandwagon, but
Yeah.
I can't tell you I watch. I do not watch. I get notifications about the Flyers. I look at it and I go on my phone, look at it, and I'm like, oh, okay. Throw it out the window. I don't really got a team, don't care.
What really sucks is that they were on they were playing really well the last month and a half leading up to COVID, and they were saying that they were one of the favorites to win it all. So I mean,
you know how that goes with Philly.
I'm actually not against hockey because I used to go to Reading Royals games when I was younger with my mom in middle school, and it's actually pretty entertaining. I will admit. Yeah. I don't know why I never watched the games though. I just scroll past that channel, but it's definitely like they fight and they're really physical. It's fun. They're fast. I just don't know why I don't watch.
We got other sports we like more, and that's all right. That's just how it goes.
I think we could talk a long time about basketball and football before we get into any hockey. Before we got to do any of that, so leave that aside.
All right, one segment I wanted to do just to give us more introduction. I know a lot of us talked about LeBron and Steph. What are your favorite athletes right now between basketball and football?
So just right now, not all time.
You can do all time. It doesn't have to be basketball and football. I was just gonna do those two because that's the most two familiar we're with. But whatever athletes are your favorite, top 5 all time.
For basketball, as I said earlier, I'm a huge Steph Curry fan. Football, man, I used to be a Odell Beckham fan, but not anymore. I guess I'm a Saquon fan. I don't know. I like Mahomes. I think he's really good. I like Russell Wilson too. He's really good. But yeah, I guess I'm a Saquon fan. Go Giants, man.
Go Giants.
Baseball, I guess Aaron Judge is my guy. He's good.
Yeah, as far as basketball, definitely a LeBron fan, number one. Was a huge KD fan before he went to the Warriors. See, who else do I like? Big Kyrie fan, like Kyrie. I like Steph. He's not one of my favorites, but I like Steph. As far as football goes, I don't follow football as much as I used to. Back in the day, I was a huge Donovan McNabb fan, obviously with the Eagles. Who else? Growing up, I was a big Brett Favre fan. He was like my idol when I was real little. I know that's pretty off the wall, but he was one of my favorites back in the day.
Got the Brett Favre haircut going on right now.
Yeah. As far as baseball, favorite Philly is probably Chase Utley of all time.
Go.
right now, like Bryce Harper, Reese Hoskins. There's just a couple Phillies I like.
Me, you want to know my favorite athletes? I'm probably the biggest LeBron fan out there. Everyone knows that. If you know
fight.
me at all,
we can fight, dope.
Shannon Sharp got you beat.
Yeah, Shannon Sharp got about 15 LeBron jerseys. I got one. So you gotta send me a care package one of these days. I love LeBron. Who else in the NBA though? I love Kyrie, Lou Will. He was my favorite Sixer. When Iguodala was on the Sixers, that was my guy too. That's really about it in the NBA. And then NFL, I love T.O. Julio is one of my guys as a receiver. He's one of the top in the league. He doesn't get as much credit though because he's on the Falcons and they underperform every year. So I show him some love. And then MLB, I don't really got any favorite players. I'm just a Phillies fan. So I mean, MLB, you'll never know. One guy will hit 350, be an MVP candidate, and then the next year it'll hit 250. So I can't stick with a player in baseball. Oh, and I love to watch Serena play tennis, even though she doesn't win when I watch, but I love to watch it.
She's the GOAT.
Definitely.
Indeed.
I got a list of 5 in order. At number 5 all time, I got Allen Iverson, my favorite Sixer. If Joel Embiid can bring a ring, he might easily take that, but we'll see. Number 4, I got the bus, Jerome Bettis, legend in the Bird. Number 3, I got Big Papi, David Ortiz. Number 2, I got a very unpopular pick in Big Ben, but I feel obligated. Big Ben Roethlisberger. Feel obligated.
Quarterback for life.
Yep, to go to war with people on Twitter, which is I'm like his Twitter account. They got like 4,000 people blocked. I might be up there with them. And then of course, number 1 is LeBron. Very popular pick, but been rocking with him for a while, obviously. So, but he came to the league when we were what, 7 years old?
6.
Yeah, somewhere around.
Yeah,
6, 7 years old. Yeah.
I guess I should give my top 5. My top 5 athletes, I would go 5, Cam Newton. Don't ask. I was a huge Cam Newton fan growing up. I didn't get
that guy too.
I liked Vic, but I didn't get to football until after he was, in jail and stuff. Then he was playing for the Eagles, so I just said forget it. Yeah, Eagles aren't. Yeah.
You know wrong with them. You know wrong with the Eagles.
Number 4, I would go Derek Jeter. I'm a huge Derek Jeter fan. Number 3, LaDainian Tomlinson. Number 2, Tracy McGrady. And number 1 is my guy Steph. Splash.
Yeah, I don't got a top 5. There's no way.
Yeah,
There's too many athletes that I like that I can't
Yeah.
even. I've never gotten that far to even think about it. I just know LeBron is number 1.
Yeah, I'm
that's
saying
far as I'll
go.
LeBron's number 1, but I would have to think about that to have a top 5.
I only have a 5
That's
favorite.
tough.
I only have a 5 favorite basketball players. The other guys I just listed because Reed did athletes, but like I was gonna have Steve Nash and guys like that, AI on my list, but I never thought of athletes.
Yeah, I'll probably put AI in my top 5.
Oh, man, I was a huge AI fan. I used to try his long crossover, and I've never got it completed in a game. I've gotten ripped every single time I tried that in the game. I don't know how he did it. I'm just too slow. But I used to literally practice it like every day. I just go and start doing that, and then never worked.
I remember going to Champs at the Berkshire Mall at age like 6 or 7 or whatever, and looking for finger sleeves like he would wear. You guys remember those? He had finger sleeves. I was like,
with the number 3.
Yeah. And then when,
I used
like,
to
how do
wear,
you
I
even
used to
play
want the
like,
arm
with
sleeve
those?
for him.
Like,
Yeah. I don't know. Why'd he wear that? Was there like
I
a
don't
reason
know.
he wore that, or
like sweat maybe? But like still, wouldn't you think the fabric would mess up your shot? Like,
I don't know.
Why
remember I
does AI
wanted on
do
that.
anything?
Part of
I
his
finally
look,
got
though.
one. I was like,
Trendsetter. That's what he is.
yeah.
T-Mac
Headband, arm sleeve.
T-Mac used to wear the leg sleeve. I used to want that.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
I wore number 1 back in the day too. until I wasn't good enough to pick my own number.
Go ahead, Tar. Last dance. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Initial reactions and thoughts, Tar. Go ahead.
Why would I start? I didn't watch it.
You asked about it. Go ahead. Let's hear something.
I'm mad you guys didn't watch it. Yo.
Bro, I told you.
What you mean? I watched the first 8 episodes. I mean, I watched 9 to 10 in another day.
You gotta watch the finale, bro. That's what I said this morning. I said watch it 9 and 10.
I specifically told you though. I said when you said we're gonna do it after the last dance, I said, bro, I don't watch it when it airs. I watch it late at night when I can skip commercials on ESPN app because I don't like commercials.
I know, but bro, the commercials are like 2 minutes long each. It's really not. It's not like old TV shows or it's. I get what you're saying. It's not a problem. It's whatever. I was just captivated by the last episode and like the closing. I thought it was really cool how they did it and like
I thought it was really cool how they ended it.
Yeah, like that's whatever. I mean, you like you said, you know your shit. Yeah, you're probably. It's the ultimate basketball historian. He knows everything about Jordan. The documentary doesn't do anything for him. That's what he said earlier. So we're good. We're good.
I know everything about DeMar DeRozan. We're
That's
good.
Right.
DeMar DeRozan.
All right, so
come on, Barry.
Buzz, any initial reactions and thoughts in general? And the notes I have, we're going to talk about the Bulls dynasty as it is. Jordan, has anything changed for you personally, off or on the court? Where does thoughts on Phil Jackson and ranking and our favorite debate, everybody's debate, MJ versus Braun is the last thing. So anything you took from the documentary or whatnot?
Yeah, no, I thought it was really cool. Definitely gave us something to look forward to every weekend with no sports going on right now. So I thought it was cool how they did that during this time right now. So we would all have something to watch, but definitely gave me a good thing for MJ because I was definitely too young. I was born in '98, which that was when the Last Dance season was. So, I never got to actually watch him. It was only hearing stuff on ESPN and seeing stuff on social media. So getting to watch this every Sunday was cool to actually see like the actual games and the highlights and everything. So it definitely gave me a good appreciation for MJ. So I thought it was pretty cool.
The Last Dance. I mean, it was a pretty good doc. It was nice how they just took you behind the scenes on everything that was going on. Had all the camera crews following them for all those years, so it was nice to really get to see a behind the scenes look on everything that was going on with those Bulls teams. And then you get a little fun. You get some funny moments in there with MJ and Gary Payton. Him watching what Gary Payton was saying, his facial reaction to that. Like, so we got a lot of good content out of it. Definitely some meme-worthy moments in that documentary. But yeah, I mean, it was a good podcast. Nice to get look behind the scenes at MJ and the whole Bulls team and to get to just know a little bit more. But I mean, all the games and stuff, they already happened. If you really, really, really followed MJ or tried to follow him, even we're all young, so we didn't get to watch it. But I mean, we can look up the highlights. So I mean, if you did that at all, you would know. You had already seen it, the game wise. So that's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, I have to agree with Doe on that. I did like the documentary, but I always thought that like anybody who really plays basketball seriously, that like at some point in your basketball journey, you were gonna take a bit of a dive into the MJ world and see what he was about, because he's this like huge person in basketball. Like I feel like it's like everybody knows about MJ in some way. I didn't realize that like people really never even like knew anything about him other than his name. But like I mean, growing up, everybody who knows me knows like I'm a huge NBA guy. Like I'm really big on NBA. I watch a lot of games and follow NBA. And like growing up, I always had NBA TV, so like I watched almost all the big games that he played in. So the only thing that was new to me was some of the stories, like Dennis Rodman going to, spoiler alert, Dennis Rodman, going to casino in the middle of the season, that type of stuff I didn't know about. But I would say about 85 to 90% of the stuff I already knew about. It's just, and I already knew what I expect. The MJ in the locker room stuff, I already expect. I already kind of saw glimpses of that through videos here and there, of seeing him being basically a jerk. But I mean, it's still a good documentary. I mean, you know, it's always good to look back and, you know, get to see in detail what guys' journeys were and how they were portrayed back in those times, and hear their peers talk about them. But I do think the world is a bit. You can see that the world likes to, you know, overreact to these type of things, especially when they have nothing to talk about. Because all I see on Twitter are like crazy comments about MJ and LeBron and this stuff. But everything that we're seeing should already be known. So it's not like they're acting like MJ just played a game tonight, and they're like, you see, that's why he's better than LeBron. I'm like, he played 25 years ago. But it's still, I still enjoyed the documentary, even though that did not make me seem like I enjoyed it.
I would say for the most part, I agree with what you guys are saying, but I think the cool part that makes, I know this is like general documentaries, but we haven't seen a lot of documentaries to like the star power that this one is. Like, this is MJ, like icon. Like, we didn't know, we weren't even born yet. He was culture, like global icon. So I think the perspective of seeing it through his eyes, and of course he's not going to include the details that might make him look, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of details in the documentary that were like questionable about his character. But at the end of the day, I think it was cool to see the people on the inside's perspective on different things that happen. Like Pippen quitting because Phil gave Tony the shot, Rodman saying he needed a break, Phil Jackson eating shrooms, doing LSD, and like opening his mind, living on a reserve in Montana. Like, a lot of that stuff was like you could just see how it worked together, and what made the Bulls, the 90s Bulls, so unique as it all. I mean, even before, like Jordan coming, being drafted and saying like, I want to put Chicago on the map, make them respected like LA, Boston, Philly. Which, shout out to Philly. I was like, because at the time I was like, were they really like that? But I guess they had that nice run, and right before he came, they won the championship.
They won the chip right
like,
before he came.
Right. So it made sense, but I think that was my favorite thing, because like Tar said, like, a good point about like the basketball heads are going to know a lot about the facts, like the 40 balls, the 50 balls, going against rookie Jordan, or second year Jordan going against the Celtics, giving him 60. The 2 3-peats. But for me, it was what really made this documentary cool was the individual details about the perspectives and what happened, that we like. There was some stuff that we didn't know about, and I think that's so cool to come back 20 plus years later and be like, wow, like. But
also to see how like those guys that were there like 20 years ago, like to see how they react to that stuff now, like when they're watching it, like Isaiah Thomas talking about walking off the court, and MJ's reaction to that, like 20 years later now, like he still has hatred for all those guys on the Pistons. So I mean, it's a cool dynamic.
Yeah, I thought Netflix and ESPN did a really good job as far as like building that suspense and drama, and even the teasers we get after 2 episodes leading up to next week. It's like, damn, I want more. Like, I want to see the last thing as a whole. But I guess the next topic we can go to, like, is the Bulls dynasty unanimous here? Are they the greatest dynasty in all
sports or basketball?
I mean, either or. We can start with just basketball. Right, because you could argue the Patriots. I get that, but the Patriots was 20 years long compared to Bulls
What's
winning.
the Bulls dynasty? Are you saying like just Scotty, MJ, and Phil?
Yeah, just their 6 titles. They're 2 3-peats.
Because they had 2 completely different teams besides those 3. For the first 3
and the second 3-peat team to me is way. I think it's way better than the first.
The first, I would take that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
They literally all way more experienced than
exactly.
And
they had that year without Jordan to really like establish themselves too in the league, and grow as individuals. So then when they had Jordan back, it was like they were. That's why they went 72-10. then I think that team's the best team ever, the NBA team ever to me. 72-10, and you won the chip. If the Warriors won the chip when they went 73-9, I would have something to say about that, but they lost.
That's what I was gonna say too.
What about the Warriors in 2017? They lost one game.
That's what I would say too.
Game in the playoffs.
That's what I always debate too. I think because like
you talking about which team?
The year after the
72
and
year.
10. Yeah,
they lost. They only lost.
You saying that team's better than the 72-10 team?
Yeah,
I mean, the only game they lost in the playoffs was to LeBron that one game.
Yeah, I'm taking that team, to be honest.
I'm
not gonna lie.
I just don't know how you defend. I don't know how you defend it. I don't know how you defend Steph and Clay 35 footers. Like I don't.
Old heads will find a way.
I mean, if it don't go in, then you don't got it. That is what it is. If it goes in, you lose. If they didn't miss, you got a chance. That's what happened. That was happening when the Cavs played them and beat them. They missed, and LeBron had a triple double.
That was completely different. Because when they started missing the next year, they gave it to KD, arguably the best scorer of all time. That's a whole different ball game.
Nah.
What was that? 2 years ago? That team?
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
That was the team when Kawhi got hurt. That was like the closest chance they had to losing it, and they lost that one game. I don't know. But I mean, to me, it's like pretty simple. That 2016 year, there was a legitimate debate about just the Warriors with Steph, Draymond, Iggy, Harrison Barnes, Clay, who was better than them or the Bulls. And then now people would say the Bulls, but it was a close debate. And then now the next year you add KD. Like, I don't really see how you still have a debate about that. Like,
I agree. I agree with that, Tar.
Because I don't think losing because they lost more regular seasons games when they got KD at first, but it doesn't matter. The playoffs they were so damn dominant. Pick your poison. Who you gonna guard? Like that's what I said. Like, and they're literally dribble, pull up, nothing but net, and they just move the ball so well, and like they just I don't know. Dynasty wise, the Bulls dynasty best in the league for me, like history, but then that team, I would take them too. And I know people get a lot of flack. They say damn millennials, but like, I don't know how you, now 2 different like play style and what you can get away with. They got documentary, you saw Reggie Miller literally truck stick MJ to get open, hit that game winner. But it's like, you can't do any of that. So the game's so different, but that's my pick at least.
Yeah, as far as dynasty, I'm definitely taking the Bulls. But if you're going one team, I'm taking that Warriors team with KD, no doubt.
I think the Stars
that Bulls team is giving them a run for their money. I don't care.
Oh, it's going at least 6 or 7.
Jordan was a different animal.
I think
Pippen and Rodman were no slouches either.
Yeah.
I mean, Rodman's a complete liability offensively, though. For a team that was scoring low 80s every game, I mean, they have to find a way to keep up with the Warriors too, because they're not going to stop them. It's just not enough. How are they going to score?
Hack the shit out of them.
Who are you going to hack? They can all shoot.
Injure them. See what happens. There you go.
Zaza
bad boy Pistons.
I do agree eras were different and all, but I'm a believer that like true talent transcends any era. So I feel like it doesn't matter what rules there are or anything, like these guys will figure out a way their games will thrive. Like when you have legitimate skills, there's no rules that are going to take you out of your game fully because you can do everything on the court. Like it's not like these guys are completely like limited in their game where like you take away something, they're screwed. They can just figure out how to succeed. That's why I think MJ and Scottie would do fine in this era because they're true talents. The same thing goes to today's talent. Like you can't tell me you put KD in the 80s and 90s and now his game's gonna be screwed. Like he can just do whatever he wants. There's nothing you can do to stop him. Like you take this away, he'll do something else.
That's a good point, Thor. That was gonna be one of my spin zones for the MJ Braun part. That if you mix those two up, I think if you put Braun, rookie 1984, and see what he does before, say there was no Jordan until later, just completely flipped. Like I don't know if there is a debate. like I don't like. There's always going to be a debate, but I'm saying I don't. He would have been so dominant back then too. It's like I don't. Do you get what I'm saying? Like if you put Bron back in Jordan's era and watch him work, same exact body, same type of player, everything. And I know players go with the times that they're in, so naturally there's gonna be like more shooting and whatnot now. But I just don't know if there's even a debate if LeBron plays in the 80s and 90s and Jordan's now.
I just feel like there's no way to like really replicate LeBron. Like he's so unique, like a 6'9", 250. He runs the court faster than any guard. He's so athletic. Like there's so many things that he has that like he's built completely different from everybody. And I just think that like in that debate with him and MJ, like he can survive he'll survive in any era. He'll average 30 in any era, win a bunch of chips in any era. Like I feel like if Jordan, like you said, like if they flipped eras, I think Jordan could have been stopped in this era because I think the talent pool in this era, I think is a lot more. It's way more vast than what he was playing in the 90s. And those teams in the 90s were good, but I mean, there wasn't as much. There wasn't many good teams. He was beating those teams with ease. Some of those teams.
Most teams didn't have much skill. They just had a couple guys who were really good and just screen setters and rebounders.
Yeah, and the role players were really role players. Yeah, and a lot of shooting. Those games were in the 80s. So if you got one guy that can get you 45, you can win the game.
That reminds me, though, Buzz. Like, how about Game 3 against the Jazz? That score. That's the first time I've ever seen that. My jaw dropped. They scored 54 points in an NBA Finals.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest things. Like from watching this, like seeing the scores of the games, like they're in the 80s. I was like, like you don't see that nowadays. Like games are in the hundreds, like pretty much every game. That was one of the biggest things that like really surprised me.
I saw 54 points. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Even like in the early 2000s, like the games were still like in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Like people, like it was the games slowly, like it just now really started to get like this high pace. Yeah, 3-point oriented game where
small ball
back and forth. Yeah.
You guys got to go watch a Spurs game 05, 06, 07, that range when they had Parker, Manu, Tim Duncan all young.
I hated watching them play.
Okay,
I couldn't watch them either. I wanted them to so bad.
Nobody could score against them.
They used to put the Spurs on Christmas. I'd turn the game off. I'm not watching them play. They're playing like the Blazers or something. It's some of the worst basketball. It's great basketball. Like if you're watching it for IQ purposes, but I mean for highlights, you ain't getting anything out of it.
Nah.
Like, to me, what was interesting for me that I liked out of this documentary was when I was younger, I used to watch all the games that come on NBA TV, but like I didn't see any other basketball, so I didn't think anything when I'm watching, old Magic tapes or MJ in the early 90s against Drexler. All those games, they just seemed like regular basketball to me because we weren't that far away from what they were doing. It was only like less than 10 years apart.
Right.
But now that I've seen basketball up to the 2020 and seen how much it's grown, after the documentary, there was times where I would literally go on YouTube and I would watch the full games of the game they were talking about. Like when they said, MJ versus the Lakers with Magic, I went back and like watched like a quarter of that game. And I was like, this is absolutely insane. Like the guards bringing the ball up, posting up the entire time. They're like, Magic's handle is so great. He's posting up the whole way down the court, getting the ball on the post. Everybody's inside the 3-point line. And then he's doing like no looks 2 feet away to a big. They're completely doubling. And like, it was just horrible basketball. Like it was compared to what we have now. I'm looking at it, I'm like, what is this? But when I was younger, I was just like, all right, it's just like it is now. But man, compared to what we have today, it's like it's insane how much lower the skill level was.
Yeah, definitely. Yesterday, my brother was watching the Sixers play the Lakers in the finals back in the 80s. So Julius Erving, rookie Magic with no Kareem. He was watching that game. That game was so bad to watch. Like just knowing what I know now about basketball, it was so bad. I don't even know what that series ended up being. I don't remember.
I think it was 4-0. That's why I was surprised.
That game was ridiculous. Magic inbounded the ball to some guy to bring it up, and he brought it up. I watched him bring it up. He brought it up in his right hand on the left side of the court, dribbling, all hesitant, and then he ball faked the pass to the high post. I was like, what the hell is this guy doing? Just swing it, make a move. Like, there's no crossovers, no in and outs, hezzies. There's nothing, no flash. The only flash is Magic throwing a no look.
Oh, you guys
he looked so ahead of his time.
You guys gotta watch the a clip of the prime time of NBA basketball, Lakers Celtics finals in like the 1980s. It is probably some of the worst basketball you can see. There was like a clip I saw one time. It was like Magic brought it up, completely turned it over. Larry brought it up, threw it into somebody, to Mikhail. Mikhail airballed a hook shot. They got the rebound. Magic brought it up, threw it into Kareem. He shot a hook shot off the backboard. Then Larry brought it up, drove in, kicked it to somebody for a wide open mid-range. He hit the other side of the backboard. It was like the craziest. This was like all in a row. Like it was like a 3-4 minute clip. I was like, this is and they were like, this is like the best basketball of NBA history. Like
that's why I don't understand.
I watched that documentary too. It was like some parts were cool, but it was like watching like the actual like more than like 20 seconds straight of clip. It's like
these old heads really like they'll talk about today's game and they have so much hatred for it. And I'm like, you played like back in those days where you weren't doing anything on the court, and they actually think that they can guard some of these guys now. Like people think that you put Dennis Rodman on KD and KD scoring 10. Like people think that. I don't understand like where you get that from. Like KD is dropping 30 on him easily.
Oh, bro, come on, man. It's a joke. Of course.
I don't get it. I don't understand how people can validate these arguments though. Like I don't understand it.
The one clip I remember from the documentary too, when they showed MJ's college days when he hit the game winner, I never saw the full play.
Bro, that was insane.
It was like a zone. It was like a terrible zone. And they just didn't. They made one.
You saw the skip pass he threw?
The skip pass was such a bad pass, but no one was on that side of the court. It was like the worst zone ever. He shot a wide open mid-range jumper,
it didn't even make sense.
Cold drill jumper. And then on the other side of the court, bro, the team brought it up. The point guard picked up his dribble. Once he got past half court, it was like a ball fake. Literally traveled. His man fell off of the ball fake. Like he faked the pass. And his man just dropped because he ran for the pass so bad. Then he threw it, tried to get it back, got it back, drove into the rim, and just threw it to the other team. That's how the game ended. It's like the craziest clip I ever saw.
That was crazy.
No,
All right, moving on to one of the last segments that we have here for the Last Dance. Just a quick answer and explanation. Who was your favorite side character of the Last Dance? Obviously not Michael Jordan.
Favorite side character.
What you learned
thinking on this.
What I could go first if you guys want me to.
Go ahead.
I already alluded to there was a couple of tough choices between like I even like some of the side characters from the people on the team that weren't there the whole time. Like I thought Horace Grant's like he was one of the honorable mentions for me when he was like straight up bitches talking about the Pistons and stuff. And then I listened to another podcast. I think he's a really cool dude and has a lot of information about stuff that nobody else knows. Like he was one of the guys for the Jordan rules supposedly or whatnot. But my favorite, I already talked about it earlier, was Phil Jackson easily. For me for all of us being younger, but I didn't know a whole lot about Phil. I knew he coached the Bulls. I knew he coached the Lakers. And for me, which isn't fair, but we got to take a step back and look. Like I kind of looked at Phil, like the last 3 years when you talk Phil Jackson, it's kind of like negative. You know what I mean? Like his role with the Knicks and how like his first sorry Tar, his first thing was to sign Lamar Odom, who's on crack, or like what, like that was from him, right? That's what they talked about. So it's like I thought a lot of that like isn't fair. Like he kind of took that like with I'm not gonna speak for him, but there was a lot of money on that paycheck that he signed to take that. regardless, it kind of like gave me a new insight to Phil Jackson, like what I talked about, like growing up in Montana, like just a different route from everybody, like how he handled Rodman. I think a lot of coaches in that instance would just fold, and Rodman would be on his way out, like how he wasn't with the Pistons. Like it just kind of went haywire there. But I think we can learn a lot from him, just like being coaches and being a person in general, just seeing a situation for what it is, taking a step back, the relaxed approach, like what else can we do? Like trying to synthesize, like go with people, like sympathy, whatnot. Like I think that was really cool, and how they painted that picture for Phil Jackson in the documentary. I really appreciate that, and he was my favorite side character.
Yeah, I think they did a good job of like making Phil look like there's a lot of stuff like you said, like Phil was being heavily criticized in the news, like being an executive for the Knicks and all that. So like it was good to see like how he actually handled those guys as a coach back in the day, and then you can see how that translated into when he was coaching the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe. Like he already dealt with crazy personalities with Jordan and Rodman and Pittman. So like he already had that experience, and he knew exactly how to handle those guys. And that's why he won with those guys, because he knew exactly how to handle them and where to put them and put them in the exact right situations to succeed. Me, I was a Jerry Krause guy. That guy made me laugh. Like all the stuff he was doing, how Jordan and Pippen were just relentlessly berating it the whole time. Like that was hilarious to me. That's why he was one of my favorite guys. But
him
about
dancing
him
on
too,
the bus.
Yeah, like he was just. I respect him. Like he was blunt, but what he believed in, he stayed true to it. I mean, he said it was gonna be Phil's last year. It was Phil's last year. Like he didn't take no shit from anybody. So like I respect him for that. Even if he did make some bad decisions along the way.
You talk about somebody who got killed. They killed him for everything.
I'd say for Jerry Krause, the blame he gets for everything, or what he's earned, is it's all fair. He gets credit for building it. He gets credit for taking it apart. So like,
I mean,
does he get credit for building it?
It was gonna come a day where it's gonna fall apart anyway. So it might as well fall apart when it did.
Tar and
who y'all favorite side? I gotta hear this.
Yeah, we got like 250 on the clock.
Like I know we've been talking about like kind of like the funny characters, but on like a more like serious note, I think he was mostly just seen in today's episode. So Taran Dode, I don't know if you saw him, but he was Michael's security guy, Gus. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but he was one of Michael's like main security guys, and after like his father passed, he became like a big like kind of like a role model in Michael's life. He was, like Michael said, he was kind of like a father figure to him. So it was pretty cool to see that. Like it was someone like other than basketball that really had like a big influence on his life. So it was kind of cool to see that. It was mostly in today's episodes. It was cool to see that though.
That was cool.
For me, I would say what I like the most about it from someone else would be that small stint they showed with Kobe, especially in that All-Star game when he was in they were in the locker room. He walked by Jordan and like everybody talked about him in the locker room, and then that was all real cool to me because I never saw that footage before, especially with the tragic passing of Kobe. But like that was really cool to see. I'm not gonna lie, like as a basketball fan, to see that how they talked about him, it was pretty awesome.
that young Lakers boy.
Especially knowing what we know now, like knowing what he became, that we know what he became, to hear them talk about him when he was just 18.
Exactly. Shows how much he idolized him back then.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see that stuff. Like when they show like the old footage, like you just said of the Kobe thing, like they said, they were talking about him then, and then to see like what he became, like how they ended the documentary, they like showed the Michael clip of when he got drafted, and they're talking about how like he wanted to make the franchise like the Sixers and the Lakers and stuff, and then to see like how he completely changed that franchise, like it was pretty crazy to see like just those initial clips and how like everything ended up. It was pretty cool to see that. I like how they ended it like that too.
Okay, hey, so we just wanted to thank you guys for tuning in and listening to us. Hey, this is our first episode, so we're gonna have plenty more content coming out for you guys. If you guys want to follow us on Instagram and Twitter, it's going to be at Good Guys Rant Pod. Type that into your phones, add us. Feel free to comment on all our content, and we're going to be posting stuff on our Instagram stories sometime soon, trying to get you guys feedback to see what we talk about next in our upcoming podcast. Because we're making this. We'll talk about anything you guys want to hear too. It's for you guys. So just stay tuned, and we're coming out with more content soon. Peace out.
Peace.
Yes, sir. Peace.
See ya.